Alright, and hello and welcome back. This is going to be hopefully the final part of this, where construction drawings can be developed, and this is going to be where we deal with this area here and etc. So that was what we had gotten to at the end of the last video was 1215E, the plan number. We just renamed that 1226A. Start working with this 1226, and first of all, I show a framed wall here, no drywall or anything, just framed all the way, and they have brackets that you can screw to the top of this wall that don't come out, that you don't see at all, just made of steel. That's what I would use, just completely keep that completely open underneath. And they are also going to want to have some outlets at this island. So where it says panel here, there ought to be outlet provided here, and perhaps something is done with this space in here to provide electric there, and then of course on this panel you can put electric as well. I'm showing a 36-inch oven, but when I looked, it looked like most ovens are only 30 inches. So whoever does the kitchen can divide this space up here however they like, and maybe we need to provide, because they want those outlets every 4 feet, I think. Okay, so it would be a push to put this outlet on the other side of this. So you might have to push this here and have some sort of a panel or some sort of provision for an outlet here, receptacle here, and similarly up here. But the kitchen person can put that all together. I just wanted to mention about the framed wall, and here are your dimensions up here that I've been working with, and that 36-inch oven situation. And the way this works out, that the edge of this island is on the center of the ridge here. And so then we want to take it to something like this. This shows 3 windows on the left, 3 windows up through here, and the next kind of sketch shows, it looks like just a single window there. But most notably, this barn beam header is wanting here, and the wood ceiling inside, and then what you did here. So while I knew there would be challenges making this barn beam work, I also got a feel for kind of hopefully what you were looking for in this little entry hall with the more earthy feel maybe. In any event, I started by putting together that shape. And this is where it was the last time we had that door in there, and I knew right away 5'9" and a half. And you were showing a double door, I believe. You showed a double door out there, but I'm showing something a little different. The 3-foot single leaf with the 12-inch side lights. We were going to need more than 5'9" and a half. So right away I took that out an extra foot, and that will fit in there like that. And similarly, I mean, a double 3-foot door, a 6-foot double door will also fit in there. But this is what I'm going to be showing through the rest of this film, is this arrangement here. And then I started working with these cabinets here, just filling this space up, and that was using about 65 inches here, and this dimensions up here on this area. And there's going to be a question, or there was at least that time, there's going to be an ongoing question perhaps, of where exactly that slate ends and the hardwood begins. But I widened that out. I made the entry smaller and the porch a little larger, because this porch in one of these, for one of the other things I did was first of all move that porch over to the extent I thought that window would tolerate it. And then I kind of finalized these cabinets up here to be 6 foot worth of cabinets on this wall here. And so here is 2 windows in here, 230, 271s, and this was bringing that slate margin out and putting 3 windows in there. And at that point it looked like this. So then I began to add this beam. For now I just have it in drywall. And there's going to be a question about the interface of this crown mold that we've been using so far through the place. Additionally, if I forget to mention it, these windows are shown to maximum. These are 73s, and I think you still have to endeavor to get an alignment with this door here. I know you do. And down here, do whatever it takes to make this sill come out at the top of the baseboard. So then we had the wood ceiling added in, and it looks like this. Then I returned to this and dealt with this beam a little bit more. And here you can see I brought it all the way flush with the front end of this stub wall. And we know that's not going to work at all unless additional stuff happens. But at that point, I just went to drywall for a minute and worked with drywall, I believe. Got those cabinets stretched out. And here you can see this, how I'd like to see that sill finished if this is what happens, regardless of how many windows. That if they are 73s, align the top and then do what it takes at the bottom to make that a smooth interface. And so I guess I just left that drywall beam for now, knowing that I was going to have to do some more work before that was going to be able to be a wood beam. So I left it alone, and it looked like this at that point. So at this point it looks something like this, and I did a couple things. I got rid of that short backsplash on the sink and ran the tile all the way down to it, and I shortened the height of that beam from 11 1/4 to 9 1/4 for now. And at this point I made another film apparently, or a series of them, so we'll see. Now that I've looked at them and added them into the film, they are all just dealing with how to make this a wood beam here and how to make that work. Notice this was just a little side thing where I left this open for dog dishes. I got away from that, but that was just something I showed. But the rest of these films are all, this next section of films is just dealing with this beam up here. And really more or less just me trying to, not really presenting viable ideas, just trying to find something that I thought could work. And maybe I started to approach that at the end. But here are these films. And then, so I must have done this at first, before I even had that beam in there, dealt with this wall elevation. That thing's moved over. I was having the dog dishes, and then I had shaped things up something like this, which is pretty much according to what you had drawn. They'll have to leave space here for this baseboard to return to that cabinet, and we will be returning to this elevation. These windows wouldn't be hinged this way, I don't think, but we'll be returning to this elevation in a moment. First of all, though, from outside, before we had these doors up here, we got rid of those, and then we developed like this, and that was when I was showing a single, the largest picture window you could in that entry hall. But I preferred something like this, and there's a little bit of something that happens here has to be made aware of. But then from this angle, it goes like this. If that front porch is going to get any larger, it's going to come all the way over this corner, I would think. I did not explore that, but I did in here. This is kind of where we were, and we go to this. And then with all this mass over here, I think I just take all the cabinets up to the bottom, so to the ceiling, and then start putting this wood beam in here at this, kind of in this configuration here for now. Pushed it back a little bit further, like this, and then did some work with these cabinets here to break up this mass. I'm not sure what you had planned here, and I'm assuming this is how you wanted it, where they were 12 inches deep, those top ones. But I had broken that up and then eventually just went to a wall cabinet at the end. I like this look through here with this whole line here, and then these two here, and that's the beam there. And that was the point I got to, and I was going to make the film at that point and develop construction drawings from that. But personally, I knew there was a few things I definitely wanted to look at before it was all said and done, and if we're going to go straight to construction drawings, I felt like that stuff was better explored earlier rather than later. But at this point here, though, I made a walkthrough, including the first and second floor, in this configuration here. And after that, at that point, 3 or 4 days ago, I was ready to put the film together, but I wanted to look at some other things because we were going to go straight to construction drawings. And just from an estate standpoint, from a size of house standpoint, from a location standpoint, I definitely felt it deserved at least a look at a few other things with regard to raising this ceiling here. So this is where we were. This was all flat ceiling in here, and that was the kind of construction drawings where we had a girder truss across here, and then we were suspending all of that existing floor framing for that attic up there on that girder truss. And this next plan though, and so what's in the road up there is these couple walls here. You can see them intruding into, if we wanted to make this, raise the ceiling, you could see them intruding. So I moved those back. These bedroom 4 walls I moved back. One thing nice about that is it kind of makes these skylights very nearly symmetrical with this chimney, which is a more kind of perfect arrangement, and converts this closet to a little linen kind of closet or storage closet, vacuum cleaner closet, because this bedroom 4 has the big closet down here, recall. So that's what happens there, and you'll see that on the walkthrough, that little difference there on one of the walkthroughs that goes upstairs with this modified plan. So that got everything out of the road in order for us to raise this ceiling. We were going to raise that with straight stick framing as high as it could, and I went that direction right away just because I thought I would only spend a little bit of time on this just to present some basic things. But one thing led to another with various elements that I wanted to review, and so that was done. So in Plan 110A we had kind of arrived, or I had arrived at this location here, and then if we raise that all the way up with conventional framing, this is two 14-inch LVLs, and the rafters are 2x8s, and presumably that is all insulated with close cell spray foam. And that is what a high ceiling. This is almost a 16-foot or over 16-foot high up here to the peak. And then I start putting in some verticals underneath this beam here. And added these false trusses with that tongue and groove just gets fastened to the hidden fastener, so it doesn't matter how we space these trusses. I had started off spacing them 4 foot on center, but it doesn't really matter how we space those. But I wanted something consistent, and I put a half thickness truss at the wall on each end here. And this was just shifting them around. And this gets rid of that little end wall, and everything else aside, I like getting rid of that little end wall. Regardless, I like this look better. And then I got one less truss. It was a little busy, so I got rid of one of those trusses, and now you have the 2 end wall ones, and 1, 2, 3, 4 in the middle, so 6 altogether. And see, even with that end wall gone, I think it looks better with the flat ceiling like that. Now, coming from this way, then, this was the spacing of those originally when I had them at 4'0", and I kind of shifted them around like this, and I don't show the final one, but I dropped one of those out. And then this is that progression from the other end, that same set of photographs, or same sort of progression that we went through the last time to get to here. And I just didn't think this was going to work at all with all these white cabinets. And then we go to this high framed ceiling, and then I added this heavy beam over here and its verticals here as well. And again, all this applies whether it's a flat ceiling or a vaulted ceiling like this. And the third alternative is just using scissor trusses over this. This is so high already is using scissor trusses over this. I don't think we can maintain any kind of a window, but you can use scissor trusses and drop this only to 7/12. But at the very end on this series of walkthroughs, one of the final walkthroughs shows it dropped all the way down to a 5/12 pitch. And even at 5/12 pitch, you end up with 12'9" ceiling here. Whether you put this a false beam down under there, I don't show that. But 5/12 pitch gives you 12'9" to the peak, and with some insulation baffles, you could very well maybe get away with just using blown insulation in that attic space. And if we keep it at 5/12, they're going to want access to that attic space, presumably from upstairs in the hall, in the second floor hall. But if you go up to 6/12, that's going to increase this by about 10 inches. So 6/12 becomes 13'8" high, and you can go all the way up to 7/12, which would be another 20 inches higher. So 13'9", 14, about 14'5", if it's the minimum, which would be 7/12 pitch under 9/12 roof pitch. So that's that part. But I didn't review that in this set of photographs, just in that walkthrough at the end, because I wanted to show that in the event you wanted the higher ceiling but not the expense and rigmarole of this stick framed arrangement with all this other accoutrements. I got away from that pretty quickly, and I got away from this pretty quickly as well. This one here, though, let me back out. This brings this opening down pretty substantially and puts a wall at the bottom of the basement, or at the bottom of the attic stair or second floor stairs, kind of buffering that master bedroom off, but does close this opening down by about 3 or 4 feet. And even a little further, because I wanted to get that out from under the lowered ceiling area here. And this is when I got rid of one of those trusses. There's a better arrangement this way, I think, and none of these trusses are going to bear any relation to cabinets or the openings. They're just going to be on their own. And we go back to flat, and this was with that smaller opening. I don't show that with the larger opening. This is a little thing I had done earlier. I was kind of wanting to keep this floor down a little bit for dust and whatnot, but I think that started to get to be a headache, and I just brought that up like this, flush with it, and you can see here's the detail again with this window sill and baseboard interface. That was with that one large picture window, and I went to these two, but you may prefer that either from outside or inside or both, but that's what I went with for the moment. And so I think that would do it. And then, like I said, there's going to be a series of walkthrough, kind of exhaustive, I guess, just through the kitchen with some of these various things happening at the ceiling level, including, don't miss it, at the very end, the scissor truss arrangement. And so that, I think, will do it for the film. I'll certainly look forward to talking to you about any or all of this when you can. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon. This first one is just going to be the stick frame version, so that's going to be 9/12 pitch, but with no other accoutrements beyond that beam covering or false beam at the top. And this first one is going to be the only one that goes up to the second floor, so you can review what the change was up there with moving that little closet out of bedroom 4 and into the hallway. This is the stick-framed version, but with those extra columns in that living room kitchen opening. And I don't think I care for that personally, but it was already there. And maybe it looks better if those columns are symmetrically spaced. I have them where that center one is wider than the two side openings. This is the stick-framed tall ceilinged version with the wider door between the kitchen and the living room. And then the same stick-framed ceiling with the accoutrements, but with the smaller door between the living room and the kitchen. And these next two are both with scissor trusses. Both of them are shown with that smaller door between the kitchen and the living room. But the first one, this one here, is 7/12 lower chord truss pitch, and the one following this brings that down to a 5/12 and loses the window in the process.